Hello, Kurt Norbury here. I'm just here to photograph some Peregrine Falcons. Well, actually, just one. Just 5 minutes ago, we had one here. I've been here for about an hour and a half now. And the area you're looking at now is where it was. Came here briefly, then moved on after a couple of minutes, allowing me to get a couple of shots. It's still in the area, hoping it'll come back. Hopefully we'll see if I get another shot. Hello, and this is the shot I got. After about 2 hours of waiting, I only got about 8 shots due to the amount of time the Peregrine was there and then flew off. But I'm pretty happy with what I've got. It's better than what I've got before. So I'm just going to go through the process of editing it. I've already cropped it, heavily cropped it. I'll show you how much I've done it. So you can see on there what it originally was and how much I've knocked it down to. And due to the really good quality of the 7D, I can crop images a lot more than I used to. And I used to use the D700 and I couldn't crop images like I could with this. So the lens I used the 300mm 2.8. Didn't use a teleconverter, I haven't got one yet, or an extender, whichever you want to call them. ISO 250, I wanted to shoot as low as I could to keep in the detail and not get any noise in my images. And shutter speed was 320th of a second, so not fast enough for flying, but I knew that the Peregrine would be staying still on this perch, so shutter speed wasn't really relevant at that time. Right, I'm just going to go through editing now. Right, first thing, I'll probably have a look at the detail. See if I can get some of that back. There is a slight bit of noise in the darker areas. You can see a bit of grain, but nothing wrong with a bit of grain. Knock up the luminance a tiny bit. The good thing with Lightroom is you can go through all the noise, and if you want to get some of that detail back from sharpening, instead of just putting the slider, which will end up sharpening the whole image, you could just use one of these adjustment brushes. That's already on the sharpness one. Knock the sharpness up a little bit. Knock the size down a tiny bit. And I could go back into the Peregrine's head. Get some detail back in there. It's very hard to see, but you get the idea of how you can use it instead of just sharpening the whole image. It's a lot easier than using the mask tool in Photoshop, because I'm trying to stick to being able to edit all my images just in Lightroom. Alright, I'm quite happy with that. Let's click that to get rid of it. Right. The exposure is pretty dead on. You know, I had the time while waiting there to test out my exposures so I could get what I really wanted and not have to be worrying about having images that are too dark, too light, or white balance being off, because I had the time to practice it so I don't mess up the shot, so I don't have to have much editing when I get back. One of the things I will do is I'll add a tiny bit of clarity. I've always liked the clarity shot. Don't go all the way to 100 because it just completely ruins your images, like that, as I'll show you. It adds detail, but details in like very small, minute shadows. So it brings them out a bit, which makes your images a bit darker. Sometimes it looks cool, but most of the time it doesn't, so I'll knock that back down. Right, add a tiny bit of contrast. Nothing wrong with a bit of contrast, help bring out the yellows in its beak. Yeah. Not the best image in the world, but it's the point of being able to photograph a wild Peregrine Falcon, you know, one that's actually not tagged and it's not in a falconry place where you can go and just photograph them. So this is the real thing. It's wild, and I was very lucky in finding it, and I constantly know where it feeds and it lives, so I can constantly go back and know I'll be able to photograph it again. And a bit of black. One also thing I noticed, which I wouldn't have noticed while I was there because it was so far away, but if you can see on the left just here, it's got its prey. I can't tell what it is from it. It could be a small bird or a large bird. I know it's not a partridge or anything like that because there isn't any round there, but I never got a chance to see what it had caught. All I can tell is from its legs. If anyone can see just from by its feet what it is, please tell me, let me know. But from this picture, I have no idea what that is that it's holding. You can see some yellow here, but that's just its talons. So, right, so let's have a look at white balance, see if we can change that a bit. Best thing with any editing software is whenever you're editing, there's no need in just trying to be very accurate with the images. You can just play around and just knock it from side to side until you're happy with how the colour looks and how it felt for when you were there. Bring that down a bit more. There. Let's get a bit more clarity. Just want to brighten up that eye just a little bit. So if I change it to an exposure and want a little bit of exposure, let's knock the brush down as small as it can go. And as you can see, that's way too much. As you can see, that's what it would normally look like. I just want to bring a bit of that highlight in its eye, just a slight bit, just to give it a bit more, because I love having detail in the eyes of my subjects, because it always looks interesting. Go back into noise reduction, because it still seems a little bit on this pole. That's better. Don't really need to go back into detail on the Peregrine because it seems in detail enough. And really, that seems about it. I hope you enjoyed this quick first Lightroom editing I've done. Probably first of many, hopefully. They probably get a bit more interesting, but as this is my first one, it's just a test and to see if it works. Well, thank you for watching, and see you later.